Alrighty guys, so I just finished book 1 of Avatar The Last Airbender, and I'm ready to talk to you about all of my emotions, because I got a lot of them. Trust me. What's going on, you guys? James here with another real review, and today I'm talking all about, yes, you guessed it from the intro, book 1, season 1 of Avatar The Last Airbender that is now on Netflix, and it is such a wonderful thing because if you missed out on my video last week, I did not watch this as a child. Yeah, I don't know what it is, I just didn't really get into it and sink my teeth into Avatar The Last Airbender. And a lot of people told me there's nothing wrong with that because there's a ton of people I found out on the internet that are also watching this series for the first time, and it is a beautiful thing. So please guys, no spoilers in the comments below, but let me know below what you think of book 1. Just throw all your emotions out there. Spoiler free, of course, I don't have to remind you again. And please go ahead and like this video and share it with your friends, and if you just happen to come to the channel for the first time, welcome to Real James. I basically talk about everything movies, TV, and sometimes video games, so if you like what you hear and what you see, go ahead and hit the big fancy red button below and subscribe to the channel. We're this close to 2,000 subscribers, or 1,200. But we'll manifest 2,000. Alrighty guys, so I figured let's do something fun before I actually talk about what I loved with book 1. Let's go through some moments, not all of them, that made me go wow. Who's ready for a montage? Yo, this Uncle Iroh guy is great. Hold the phones. They're talking about sexism and they're addressing how women should be treated equally. You love to see it. Aang and Katara. Man, I ship this relationship. Aang and Katara. Maybe it's better they stay like that brother and sister relationship, yeah. Prince Zuko, you are a mean mother. Prince Zuko, you are a mean person. Prince Zuko, you're doing this because your father exiled you. Oh my god, this got deep really fast. Dang, Uncle Iroh, when is this album gonna drop? Man, smooth. Okay, so now that I got that out of my system, you guys, let's go ahead and dive into book 1 of Avatar The Last Airbender. Now, I went through the first 10 episodes in the previous video I dropped before this one, and let me tell you guys, it only got better from that point onward. Immediately, I'll be honest, I was a little shocked at the wonky animations, and I'm like, man, this is actually kind of an anime for America, and now I'm kind of digging it even more because I didn't know what to expect. And it's the characters, the writing, and the direction that just drew me in each and every episode. So let's honestly go through each main character and I'll talk about what I think about them so far through one season. Leading the pack is of course The Last Airbender, Aang, who up until this point I thought was just called Avatar. It tells you how much I knew before going into the season. Aang is a very complex individual because he was frozen for 100 years, and I don't have to recap that for you, but what's really great is that the show kind of takes you on this journey with him of him trying to revisit his past and realize that his past is no longer his reality. He's got a new present to deal with, and 100 years ago there were so many things that were once there that aren't there today, and now there's another fight that he's in the middle of, which is the Fire Nation trying to, well, take over the world because Sozan's Kamen is coming. So he's looking for a new family, and thank goodness for Katara and Sokka because they come along and they just accept him. And actually Katara is my favorite character so far because she embodies that inclusiveness. Like, she's not looking for exclusivity. She doesn't just want to hang out with the Water Tribe. She wants to just accept everyone, and she's willing to, of course, make amends with people who might have angered her in the past, but yet she's also this very strong individual. And not only that, she really does represent a very powerful female figure in this show, and I think that's very much needed for young women who watch this show and that are growing up with this and think, well, these men are so strong, they're airbending and they're earthbending, but Katara is the one who eventually teaches Aang how to waterbend at the end. Ain't that the coolest thing? And then you have Sokka, who really doesn't have bending abilities, and if he does, please don't spoil anything, but I'm gonna theorize that he doesn't have any bending abilities, but his ability is that he's human, that he's learning and he's growing, and because of that he's actually a little bit more, I guess, reserved when it comes to taking risks, which could actually help the group, and sometimes it did. We remember that episode, right, with the fortune teller, gosh, I forgot her name, but when the volcano was erupting and Aang and him went up and saw the lava, came down, and Sokka's like, hey, I told you guys, it's okay to, like, you know, listen to people who might want to, you know, pour into your future, but you gotta go with the facts, and the facts right now are that this volcano is gonna destroy the entire town. So I think that Sokka's displaying a very mature person over the course of the season. He starts off immature, and as it, the season goes on, especially up until that finale with Princess Yue, It was heartbreaking, you guys. This one girl that he finally falls in love with is someone who has to be sacrificed back to the moon spirit. Are y'all kidding right now? Like, the writing here is so great, and we'll get into that soon. Let's continue to go down the list of characters here. So Uncle Ira, who I just mentioned in that montage earlier, not only can he play that amazing instrument and he has such great jokes, but he's a very rugged individual in the sense that you can tell he's been through a lot. And what's awesome is that he's trying to train up Prince Zuko to be humble. And not only that, does it feel like to you guys after one season that Uncle Iroh isn't necessarily pledging his allegiance to the Fire Nation? What's really cool is that at the end he stands up to Commander Shao and tells him, like, listen buddy, like, this is not cool, you cannot just take over the world like this. And I think him and Prince Zuko are starting to realize that the Fire Nation is not exactly, well, all that they're chalked up to be. They're just wanting to take over the world. They're a modern dictatorship, essentially. And I think it's beautiful the way they're writing Uncle Iroh's character, and he is slowly but surely becoming one of my favorites. Dude is amazing. So the next character is Prince Zuko, and he's probably the most complex character so far through season 1, because you start off thinking he's the main antagonist, and he's not. That's Commander Shao. And then you start to realize that Zuko is a little conflicted. He wants to capture the Avatar and then probably gain some power as a result, but then you realize that the Fire Lord, his father, exiled him, and he's doing this because he kind of wants to be accepted again. At least that's what I got from it, guys. If it's something different, please let me know in the comments below. But truly, Zuko is one of those characters who is starting to realize that he was once so led by anger and frustration and angst, and now he's growing into someone who's a little bit more humble and willing to go, I guess, the good route, because there's, the good and the bad route, but he wants to go in the direction that doesn't lead to as much destruction. I think that's pretty beautiful. And Zuko's giving me these Darth Vader vibes because, as we know, Darth Vader in episodes 4, 5, and 6, main antagonist, and then, well, he starts to become a little bit nicer and realize that, wait, once upon a time I was a Jedi. Let me go ahead and take care of my son. Now, Zuko doesn't have any kids in this season, but he's basically starting off on this path of literal fire, and he's starting to show signs of that humble nature that Uncle Iroh was trying to instill in him. So I know we spent a lot of time right now on Prince Zuko, but that's because, man, his character is written so well. Okay, and the next one here is the Fire Lord, who was really kind of introduced in the final 4 or 5 episodes of Book 1, and I didn't know this, but he's voiced by Mark Hamill. I was like, man, this dude sounds so familiar. Went to IMDb and saw, yep, it's Mark Hamill. What hasn't Mark Hamill done at this point? The dude is a legend, but man, it is so cool just to see how the writing kind of develops over time and kind of intertwines each of these characters along each other's paths. I think it's beautiful the way that, everything is structured, and the pacing of the show is so great. So that's a good little transition. Let's get right into the technical side of Avatar: The Last Airbender. Now, I'm gonna be honest. There are 3, big directors here that I can remember off the top of my head: Dave Filoni, Lauren MacMullan, and Giancarlo Volpe. If I messed up any of those names, I'm so sorry, but there's a different identity for each episode that they direct. Dave Filoni is consistently great in between both big action sequences and really emotional storylines. Lauren MacMullan is very good at not necessarily just being, the leader of the filler episodes, because there are some episodes that she's directed that were a little slower, but it's in the slowness that you get the most development. So there's a very emotional touch. And Giancarlo Volpe is very, very good at kind of pushing the letter in the sense of not only just emotion, but he's giving you a different approach. So it's not just all battles, it's not just all airbending. What it is some surprises along the way, but you're gonna get development, usually from just one character or 2, but it is just beautiful to see how they all kind of come together so perfectly and in harmony, really, because it's also the writing that kind of got me into it. The big action sequences are cool and all, but it's the story that is keeping me engaged. I mean, it is so enthralling, and I'm using big words here because your boy had some time to think about this when he went to bed. It's just unreal to see the amount of nuance in each character that plays a difference towards the end. When we get to part 1 and part 2 of the Northern Air Temple, which is the finale for Book 1, you start to see a different, I don't want to say vibe to the series, but everything that they were teasing, all the storyline threads are kind of pulled together, and it brings about such a beautiful end product. Now, I know this was not the end of the series, and there's probably more surprises along the way, But the reason why we feel so deeply for Sokka and, you know, of course, kissing Princess Yue goodbye is because of the character development and progression of his character. And then you get into, you know, Katara and Aang, and, you know, these are characters that are really struggling with being, I mean, so young, honestly, and thrown into this world where they have to mature. And it's really neat to see that as we grow to learn the characters also learn to grow. That's really neat. And I know, it's not all about the battles here, but guys, let me tell you something. The animation for each of these bending sequences, like the Omashu episode, man, if I'm really pronouncing that improperly, I'm sorry, but oh my goodness gracious, I absolutely loved all the earth bending, the air bending, the water bending, and there's a really cool mix that when Aang starts to learn more and more, because he has to, of course, master fire, water, and earth bending in order, of course, to be like the Avatar and save the world from Sozon's comet. It's unreal to see how the animation got better over book one. Now, maybe that's just my eyes playing a trick on me, because of course, listen, the budget was probably set at one standard and then it went up for the following 2 books. I'm gonna tell you guys, I think that in the Northern Air Temple, all of that water bending, I hadn't seen animation like that in any of the previous episodes. So it leads me to believe that, you know, the animation's also growing as our characters are learning. It's beautiful. It is absolutely unreal to witness. And can I be completely honest with you? Some of these characters are totally relatable. At one point in our lives, we might have been 2 or 3 of these characters, you know, like an Aang and a Katara, maybe just Sokka. Some of us might have dealt with some anger issues like Prince Zuko, and if you did, hopefully you had an Uncle Iroh to calm you down. But that's the beauty of this series, is that you can just kind of relate and just talk through with people years and years later. Again, what was I doing when I was 12? Now, listen, there are a couple of things that I didn't necessarily like about book 1. This is not me hating on it at all, please don't flame me in the comments. But the season finale felt a little rushed. Now, not part 1, the Northern Air Temple part 1 felt pretty developed, but in part 2, things were happening rather quickly and they almost kind of zoomed through multiple storyline threads. At the end, I get it, they have to tease, you know, Zuko's sister, who I didn't even know existed, so season 2 about to be crazy, I don't even know her name. But I didn't necessarily think that they needed to go through the Princess Yue Sokka storyline so fast. And maybe Aang didn't spend enough time in the spirit world. Like, I get there's a lot of things that happen, but maybe they could have done with a part 3. I don't know. I know it's a child's cartoon, so at the end of the day, Nickelodeon wasn't going to do 3 parts of a season finale. But it would have probably made some sense, because it almost felt like that battle when the Fire Nation Navy fleet was coming in to the Water Tribe. Did it really last as long as you thought it did? It didn't for me. So maybe they got through it a little quickly. I'm hoping that we don't feel that way in book 2, but I'm excited. Now, honestly, there are a couple notes that I didn't get to earlier in this review that I do want to kind of touch on and pull the curtain back on a few of them. The one I know I mentioned briefly in the montage was really this topic of women equality. You know, whether it be the same amount of work that men can do, women should be able to do as well, but also in terms of sexism. I think it's beautiful how the writers kind of planted these seeds and are setting good examples for children that have grown up with this cartoon, and some adults need that reminder too. That's the T. Okay. And honestly, I think that it's beautiful Katara is the person to do this. She's not a side character, she's a main character who really just wants to display the strong female figure in the show, and she really is the one for it. I mean, like I said at the end, she's the one who's training Aang in waterbending. That's awesome. And I know we're talking a lot about the finale here, but man, the aesthetic there in the final 2 episodes, actually I think it was just part 2, where it went from all red when the moon spirit was disrupted to black and white when the moon spirit was destroyed. Insane. I mean, this is something that I think a 12-year-old me wouldn't have appreciated, but now as a lover of film, even more so. And me loving cinematography and the score, everything kind of crescendoed together perfectly, and you got yourself a good sequence there, because that was a good bit of time that it was like red and then all black and white. I was in love. Listen, I was eating my caramels and just like, or is it caramels? whatever. I was eating, I was watching, I was having a great time. So you know what book 1 did for me? It made me that much more excited for books 2 and 3, but I'm not gonna get too ahead of myself. I'm jumping into book 2 today, episode 1. I'm so excited. If I could just live stream my reactions to every episode, I would. But you guys can expect a full-fledged review just like this one for book 2, and I'm really excited to just talk to you guys about this in the comments, because on my previous video, my first impressions of watching Avatar The Last Airbender, you guys were so helpful in not spoiling anything. I do love this community so much, and you are all supporting me, and you're really rooting me on for this review. So I really hope you guys have enjoyed it up to this point, and if you do, please go ahead and hit the big red button below and subscribe to the channel. We're this close to 1200, yet another milestone for the channel, and tap on the bell right next to it just to stay up to date with anything like this. Also guys, like this video, share it with your friends, and get loud in the comments. Once again, we're having a conversation all weekend long. Alrighty guys, so I don't have to tell you again, but I'm gonna go ahead and watch book 2 now, and I am so excited. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you at the next screening.